Why is it that some people seem to remain emotionally young long into adulthood? Why do some women, despite their age, carry the psychological traits of a child, clinging to fantasy, avoiding responsibility, craving attention, fearing independence? It's not a matter of intelligence or capability. Many are highly competent in certain areas of life, but on a deeper level, something remains underdeveloped. Something resists maturity. To understand this, we have to step into the uncomfortable territory of dark psychology and borrow the lenses of Friedrich Nietzsche and Carl Jung. Nietzsche saw adulthood as something one must conquer. He spoke of the need to overcome the herd, to rise beyond comfort and safety, to affirm one's own values rather than inherit them passively. The child, in Nietzsche's terms, is the beginning. But the adult, the Übermensch, the overman, is the one who recreates meaning for themselves, who steps beyond inherited dogma. For some women who never grow up psychologically, this leap never happens. They remain trapped in what Nietzsche might call the last man phase, seeking pleasure, comfort, and reassurance over the painful work of self-overcoming. Carl Jung approached this from a different but complementary angle. He spoke of individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated self. For Jung, many people avoid this journey because it requires confronting the shadow, the dark, uncomfortable truths about oneself. It's far easier to remain in the realm of the persona, the mask we present to others. For some women, staying within the realm of the childlike persona offers protection. It shields them from the pain of adult responsibility, from the terrifying awareness of mortality, from the existential burden of freedom. Clinging to the persona of the innocent girl allows them to avoid confronting their shadow, their fears, insecurities, and darker impulses. The modern world, especially through social media and consumer culture, actively rewards this kind of arrested development. There's a strange currency attached to youthful beauty, vulnerability, and the performance of innocence. Women who lean into these traits often receive validation, attention, and even power. But it's a power that remains dependent on external approval. It's not the self-generated strength Nietzsche admired. It's not the integrated wholeness Jung envisioned. It's a fragile, performative power. Some never escape this trap because our culture romanticizes it. The infantilized woman is seen as more desirable, more feminine, more appealing. She becomes a symbol of purity, someone who needs to be protected and cherished. But behind this image often lies deep insecurity. The dependency on others to provide stability, financial support, emotional validation. It all reflects an unconscious fear of standing alone. Nietzsche would see this as a failure of will. Jung would see it as a refusal to individuate. If we go even deeper, we see that childhood offers a kind of psychological safety net. In childhood, others make decisions for us. Others take responsibility. The child has permission to be powerless. For some women, remaining in this state, psychologically, if not chronologically, means never having to face the terrifying prospect of full autonomy. Because autonomy demands confrontation with chaos. It requires accepting that you are the author of your own life and that mistakes, failures, and losses are part of that authorship. Not everyone is willing to face that abyss. Nietzsche often warned about the dangers of comfort and security. He saw the modern world as increasingly designed to coddle people, to protect them from discomfort, risk, and self-overcoming. The consequence is a kind of psychological stagnation. Some women, and men for that matter, drift through life seeking constant reassurance, never taking true responsibility for themselves, never questioning their inherited beliefs or confronting their shadow. They remain, as Nietzsche might say, slaves to their own comfort. Jung believed that this refusal to grow up leads to neurosis. The energy that should be invested in individuation becomes trapped. Anxiety, depression, and a chronic sense of dissatisfaction often emerge because the true self is being denied. The person plays a role, but the role no longer fits. The mask becomes suffocating. But breaking free feels even more terrifying. Interestingly, our culture often disguises this refusal to grow up under the banner of empowerment. The infantilized woman is sometimes celebrated as being in touch with her inner child or as someone who embraces feminine energy. But genuine empowerment comes from integration, not from clinging to a childlike persona, but from incorporating both strength and vulnerability, independence and interdependence. Jung's concept of the integrated self includes both the light and the shadow. It requires facing the parts of oneself that are uncomfortable, even repulsive. The mother complex, another Jungian concept, also plays a role. Some women remain trapped in an unconscious identification with the child, not fully separating psychologically from the mother archetype. They unconsciously seek to remain protected, cared for, and dependent. They may unconsciously choose partners who become surrogate parents, recreating a dynamic where they don't have to fully mature emotionally. The dependency feels safe, but it stunts growth. Nietzsche would likely see this as the victory of nihilism, the rejection of the hard work of meaning-making in favor of comfort and reassurance. To grow up, in his view, is to risk everything in the pursuit of one's own values, to create one's own moral horizon, to affirm life even in the face of suffering. The woman who never grows up remains, instead, within a borrowed moral framework. She accepts ready-made meaning, ready-made roles, and ready-made comforts, avoiding the existential anxiety that true freedom brings. Social structures reinforce this too. Family dynamics, cultural expectations, even certain feminist narratives can unintentionally encourage the postponement of psychological adulthood. If a woman is constantly praised for being sweet, pretty, and non-threatening, the incentive to develop deeper forms of strength and autonomy weakens. Over time, the persona hardens. What began as a performance becomes an identity. Of course, this isn't limited to women. Men face their own versions of arrested development. But the societal rewards for women who maintain a certain childlike charm make it especially seductive. The longer it persists, the harder it becomes to confront the buried fears underneath. The longer the shadow is avoided, the more it grows in power. Jung warned that what we resist in the unconscious doesn't disappear. It festers. The woman who never grows up may eventually face crisis when the mask starts to crack. A failed relationship, a financial collapse, or the creeping realization of lost time can trigger immense anxiety and despair. The confrontation with reality, delayed for years, arrives all at once. In Nietzschean terms, this is the point where the possibility of self-overcoming re-emerges. The pain of collapse can either destroy or it can catalyze transformation. But the longer one has remained in the childlike state, the more terrifying the process of breaking free becomes. It requires tremendous courage to face one's own shadow, to dismantle the comfortable illusions, to rebuild a self that stands independently. There's another layer here too. Some women may adopt this persona unconsciously as a survival strategy, in environments where autonomy is punished, where being assertive invites hostility, retreating into innocence can feel safer. The world often romanticizes the vulnerable woman while attacking the powerful one. So some women, perhaps even wisely at first, choose the safer role. But over time, the role can become a prison. Jung spoke of the danger of identification with the persona. The more one becomes the mask, the harder it is to access the deeper self. Life becomes a performance, and genuine growth halts. The woman trapped in this dynamic may find herself successful on the surface, but hollow underneath, disconnected from her own inner vitality. Nietzsche might say that she has failed to affirm life in its fullness. She has chosen safety over risk, comfort over growth, reassurance over truth. The tragedy is not merely in the choice, but in the wasted potential, the lost opportunity to become something greater, to create new values, to stand fully awake in the chaos of existence. Ultimately, the question isn't about judgment, but about compassion and awareness. It's easy to mock or criticize those who seem immature. But what we often see is not laziness or stupidity, it's fear. The fear of freedom, the fear of failure, the fear of facing the shadow. And these fears are profoundly human. We all carry them, in different forms. The path toward genuine adulthood is brutally difficult. It demands that we stand naked before our own imperfections, that we take responsibility for our own lives, that we abandon comforting illusions. Nietzsche and Jung both recognize that this path is rare, which is why truly individuated, self-overcoming people are so uncommon. For the women and men who remain trapped in psychological childhood, the invitation always remains open. The door to individuation is never locked, but opening it requires a terrifying honesty, a willingness to break from cultural scripts, and a courage to face the darkness within. And if that door is ever opened, what waits on the other side isn't just adulthood, it's freedom.